Hey, really glad you joined. And I wanted to talk about living a full life. And I tried to skirt this and take shortcuts by not fully addressing my own trauma, my own life experience, the family that I was raised in, the childhood that I experienced, and that how that played itself over and over again in adulthood. And I was 25 when first started taking a look, and the first step was to put down my addictions, which were alcohol and compulsive overeating. And that gave me the clarity that I needed to look within. But way back then, the talk about the inner child was so popular. There was a book out called Drama of the Gifted Child by Alice Miller. And it was even in like pop culture movies. And I just really negated that inner child work. I did it, but I did it with reluctance. And I explored my emotions and identified feelings for the first time in a very long time to try to get in touch with my own being. But ultimately, I just really didn't want to stop down and take that time. And though I got better, I never really full on addressed issues of codependence, specifically issues to the attention of men. And that caused me to stay in relationships well past their expiration date, and also to carry more than my fair share of the weight within the relationships, because that's where my esteem and self-worth and my value really was as a person. And I'm not judging who does what in their relationships, but in mine, it was uneven. And I allowed it to happen. I take full responsibility because that's how I thought I deserved to be treated. My father told me when I was young that I would never find someone to marry me because my tastes were too rich. And I ended up carrying weight more than my fair share of financial responsibility in my marriage. And I bet some of you can identify, but it wasn't really until I truly was forced to go inside and look at this abuse that I now was perpetrating on myself. So the same thing that was being done within my toxic family system, I was now carrying out on different levels. And it seems like every decade I would address a new level and come to a new amount of recovery, but it never really got to the core of the issue, which is I didn't really acknowledge my inner child, her value, her beauty, her warmth, her worth, her intelligence, and the fact that she had trudged through so much in such pain. And finally, I got the courage to do so. And I stepped away from a marriage that I never thought I would be strong enough to. And that was the perfect storm. That was really the precipice that broke things wide open. And I had to finally, well, I didn't have to, I could have stayed in this marriage that was causing me to disintegrate year after year after year. But I chose to step up. And it was hellish walking through that experience, but it did teach me my full value. I didn't have a choice but to really see it. And I was so moved by hearing the story of another survivor recently on a podcast called Unfiltered Stories, which I really strongly recommend, especially those of you coming from abuse and heavy trauma. This woman had been trafficked as a young child, and she didn't escape until she was well past teenage years. But she did escape. And she is living a full life today because she went in and faced her demons. She stood up and now she's telling the truth. And now she's helping others through similar trauma. And that's what I'm doing. And that's what I hope you can do too when you stand up and you address the trauma because you have value, you have worth, you have a story to tell, and you have resilience and hope to share. But first, we have to walk through it together. And I'm so grateful you're here today. There's all sorts of free resources on my website, susangold.us. You're welcome to go check it out. And thank you so much for everybody that's been commenting and sharing. And for your subscribers, I treasure you. So if you appreciated this message today, please like, share, subscribe, and stand up. You can do it. That little inner voice inside is probably screaming. And this is your chance for true evolution here on this planet, because now's the time. The veil is thinning. The vibration and the frequency are raising. You don't have to carry the toxicity of toxic family lines, of systems any longer. You can stand up to it and help others transform as well. So take good care. I look forward to seeing you in our next video. And remember, we are in this together.